Ever feel like you're just surrounded by idiots? Yeah, you're not alone. But what if the problem isn't them? Today, we're diving into Thomas Erikson's best-selling book, which argues it's not about idiocy, it's all about communication. Let's get into it.
Okay, that title, Surrounded by Idiots. It's pretty provocative, right? But here's the thing. The central idea isn't that people are actually idiots. The real point is that most of our conflicts, our frustrations, they all come from one simple failure, not getting that people have fundamentally different ways of communicating. You see, it's about a mismatch, not malice.
So how do we make sense of all this? Well, Erikson uses a pretty well-known framework called the DISC model. Now that stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. But to make it super simple, he assigns a color to each one: red, yellow, green, and blue. This whole color system just makes it so much easier to grasp and actually use in our day-to-day lives.
All right, here's what we've got on tap for today. First, we'll dig into that core misunderstanding at the heart of the book. Then, we'll meet the 4 personality colors. After that, we'll see what happens when those colors collide, how you can actually apply this stuff in your own life, and to wrap it all up, we'll take a look at how these ideas might play out in the Indian cultural context.
Okay, Section 1, the core misunderstanding. So, let's just hammer this home one more time. The central idea of the book is really simple. People aren't trying to be difficult. It's just that our fundamental personality styles don't always line up, and that's what creates all the friction.
All right, now for the fun part. Let's meet the stars of the show, those 4 color-coded personalities. Seriously, understanding these archetypes is like getting a decoder ring for pretty much everyone you interact with.
First up, we have the Reds. You can think of them as the drivers. They're assertive, competitive, and they're always pushing forward. Now, their decisiveness is a massive strength. But yeah, it can definitely come across as impatient. So little tip, if you're talking to a Red, just get straight to the point. They value action way more than small talk.
And you see this archetype everywhere, right? It's the startup founder who's obsessed with growth, or maybe that parent who's all about discipline. And culturally, these red traits really echo heroes like Arjuna from the Mahabharata, just intensely focused and driven to hit that goal no matter what.
Okay, next up, let's talk about the yellows. These are the social butterflies of the group. They're inspiring, they're enthusiastic, and they just thrive on connecting with people. Their creativity and charisma can literally light up a room, but all that spontaneity can sometimes mean they're a little disorganized. So, if you want to connect with a yellow, bring the energy, tell a good story, and definitely don't be afraid to laugh.
Oh, you know a yellow when you see one. They're that marketing exec pitching a wild, bold new campaign, or that one friend who's always the life of the party. You know who I'm talking about? This kind of expressive energy is just perfectly captured by those magnetic, larger-than-life heroes you see in Bollywood. All right, let's talk about the greens. I like to think of them as the anchors of any group. They're the harmonious helpers, super calm, loyal, and just incredibly dependable. Their empathy makes them fantastic team players, but they really don't like confrontation or fast changes. So, the key to communicating with a green? Be supportive, be consistent, and please give them time to process.
I bet we all know people with strong green traits. It's that teacher who really listens more than they talk, or that one colleague who, just quietly holds the whole team together with their stability. And in many Indian families, you'll often find the green archetype is that peacemaker, the main caregiver.
And finally, we meet the blues, the analytical perfectionists. These are the folks driven by logic, precision, and quality. Their ability to analyze every little detail is basically a superpower, but it can also lead to overthinking and what might feel like emotional distance. So pro tip, if you're presenting something to a blue, you better have your facts straight. They appreciate data, not drama.
Just think of an engineer designing a totally flawless system, or maybe that friend who insists on reading every single word of the fine print before signing anything. That's a blue. This methodical mindset is also something you see in figures like classical Indian scholars or those super disciplined, rule-bound administrators.
Okay, so we've met all 4 colors, but what happens when you stick a fast-paced red in a room with a slow and steady green? This, my friends, is where the real fireworks happen. Let's dig into where all that friction actually comes from.
So here you have it, the natural opposites. The super direct, fast-moving red is almost guaranteed to clash with the stable, conflict-averse green. And the spontaneous, let's just wing it, yellow can be driven absolutely nuts by the structured, let's check the details, blue. And these clashes happen for one simple reason. Their core values are just fundamentally different.
So the big question is, how do we fix this? Well, the key is to bridge that gap.
And it all starts with understanding those mismatched values and just recognizing the different communication styles. From there, it's about practicing a little empathy and developing the adaptability to, adjust your own approach when you need to.
And that brings us to, honestly, the most important part of all of this. How can we actually use this color code? Let's take a look at how to apply it at work, in our relationships, and just in our everyday lives.
Okay, in the workplace, this model can be a total game changer. Just imagine hiring someone not just for their skills, but for a personality that actually fits what the role demands. Or think about building a team where you have a creative yellow perfectly balanced by a detail-oriented blue. And for a leader who gets this, you can motivate each person differently. And, this is huge, you can deliver feedback in the specific language that person will actually hear and understand. And hey, this is just as powerful at home. In a relationship, it can unlock a whole new level of understanding about your partner's emotional needs. And if you're a parent, recognizing your child's innate color can literally change everything. It lets you support them in the way they truly need, not just the way you think they should be supported.
Okay, now this is super important, so listen up. The color code is a tool. It is not a label. We are not here to put people into little boxes. This is all about gaining nuance and, most importantly, self-awareness.
So here's the crucial thing to get. Almost nobody is a single, pure color. Nope, most of us are a blend of two or more. And guess what? Our personality can be pretty dynamic. The real power of this model isn't labeling others. It's using it as a mirror to find your own blind spots and triggers. It's about building that emotional intelligence to be more flexible.
And of course, we have to talk about the critiques, because they're valid. Some people argue the model is just way too simplistic, and there's a very real risk that it can lead to stereotyping people. And that is exactly why it is so important to remember nuance, context, and to keep learning, instead of just slapping a color on someone and calling it a day.
So, keeping all those cautions in mind, let's explore how we can apply this tool with that nuance we just talked about. For our final section, we're going to look at how these personality types interact with the rich cultural norms you might find in a country like India.
In a place like India, for example, a strong sense of community can totally shape how these colors show up. A dominant red personality might dial back their usual directness out of respect for elders in a family setting. Or a supportive green might find their role as the family peacemaker is even more critical because of those deep-rooted family dynamics. Understanding these extra layers is absolutely key to bridging those generational and cultural gaps.
So, after all this, what's the ultimate takeaway? It really boils down to this one powerful idea. Real transformation, whether it's in our relationships or just within ourselves, it all begins with the simple yet profound act of trying to understand other people.